If you're so smart, translate this text into German. CEO challenges waitress and is shocked. Michael Thompson was having one of the worst days of his professional life when he decided to have lunch at the most expensive restaurant in New York City. His company was facing a crisis, and a crucial contract with German investors was about to be cancelled. That's when the young waitress tripped and spilled coffee on his table, soaking the important documents he was reviewing one last time before the decisive meeting. "You incompetent fool!" Michael shouted, standing up abruptly. "You can't even serve coffee properly." The waitress, a brunette woman around 25 with her hair tied in a simple bun, tried to clean the table with trembling hands. "I'm so sorry, sir. It was an accident. I can—" "An accident?" Michael interrupted, his voice echoing through the elegant dining room. "You just ruined documents worth millions. If you're as smart as you look, translate this contract into German right now." He grabbed the wet contract and threw it in front of her, expecting her to stutter or run away. The other restaurant patrons stopped eating to watch the awkward scene. To everyone's surprise, the waitress picked up the document with steady hands and began reading aloud. "Dieser Vertrag zwischen der Thompson Enterprises und den deutschen Investoren." Her pronunciation was flawless, with a natural German accent that made Michael swallow hard. She continued translating each line with technical precision, using complex legal terms that left the businessman completely speechless. But it was when she pronounced one specific word that Michael's world collapsed. "Erbschaft," she said, and Michael's legs went weak. That was exactly how his daughter used to say inheritance when they played in German, with that unique inflection he'd never heard from anyone else. Jessica had disappeared 20 years ago, at 15, after a terrible fight. The waitress lifted her eyes from the paper and met Michael's fixed gaze. For a moment, time stood still in the restaurant. Tears began streaming down her face, but her voice remained steady as she finished the translation. "Sir, are you all right?" a customer at the next table asked, seeing Michael pale as a sheet. Michael couldn't speak. His eyes traced the waitress's face, searching for familiar features in the woman standing before him. The shape of her eyes, the curve of her nervous smile, even the way she bit her lower lip when tense. "How do you know German?" he managed to whisper. "I lived in Germany for a few years," she replied, quickly wiping her tears. "Sir, I'll get you new copies of these documents. These are stained." As she turned to leave, Michael spotted a small scar behind her left ear, the same scar Jessica had had since childhood, from falling off her bike at 7. "Wait!" he shouted, making the entire restaurant turn again. "What's your name?" The waitress stopped but didn't turn around. Her shoulders trembled visibly. "Emily, sir. Emily Wilson." "That's not your real name." Michael stood up, knocking over his chair. "Jessica? Jessica, is that you?" Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The waitress slowly turned, and Michael saw in her face the confirmation his heart already knew. The same expressive brown eyes, the same well-defined eyebrows, the same way she tilted her head when nervous. "Please, not here," she whispered. "Not in front of everyone." But Michael couldn't control himself. 20 years of searching, hiring detectives, placing ads in newspapers, never giving up. And there she was, waiting tables just blocks away from his office. "My daughter." He reached out his hand, but she stepped back. "I'm not your daughter anymore," said Jessica, now Emily, with a coldness that cut through his heart. "This ended a long time ago." The restaurant manager approached, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. "Is there a problem here? Ms. Emily, is this man bothering you?" "No, Kevin," she replied, without taking her eyes off Michael. "Mr. Thompson was just checking the translation. Everything's fine." Michael realized she had recognized his last name from the start. It wasn't a coincidence. She knew exactly who he was. "We need to talk," he said. "Please." "We have nothing to talk about." Jessica grabbed the tray and headed to the kitchen. "Go back to your rich, important life, Dad, like you always did." The word "dad," spoken with such disdain, hit Michael like a punch. He followed her into the kitchen, ignoring the manager's protests and the murmurs of the customers. In the kitchen, he found Jessica leaning against the back wall, crying silently. The other staff stopped working, sensing the tension in the air. "Jess, please." Michael approached slowly. "I've been looking for you all these years. I never stopped searching." Searching. She turned to him, her eyes red with anger and pain. "You didn't even notice when I left home. You were so busy with your business that you didn't realize your daughter was gone until the next day." The accusation echoed through the kitchen like a gunshot. Michael remembered that terrible night. He had come home late from a business trip, assuming Jessica was in her room. Only the next morning did he find the note saying she had left. "I was trying to build a future for us," he defended himself. "After your mother left us, I had to work twice as hard to run away from me too," Jessica interrupted. "You thought I didn't notice. Every time you looked at me, you saw her. I was just a painful reminder of the woman who abandoned you." Michael felt the weight of 20 years of guilt crashing down on him. It was true. After Catherine left, seeing Jessica with the same eyes, the same gestures, was like reopening a wound that never healed. "You were always angry with me," she continued, her voice breaking. "Nothing I did was ever good enough. My grades, my friends, my appearance. You wanted me to be perfect to make up for her absence." "Jess, I didn't know you felt that way." "Of course you didn't. You never asked," she shouted, making the cook step back. "When I tried to talk to you, there was always a meeting, a call, some company problem that was more important than your daughter." Michael remembered the countless times he had told her to wait, promised they'd talk later, and never followed through. He remembered missing school performances, volleyball games, the important moments of her life. "I was building an empire to leave to you," he said desperately. "I didn't want an empire," Jessica punched the wall. "I wanted a father. I wanted you to see me, to listen to me, to know I existed." Manager Kevin appeared at the kitchen door. "Emily, you need to get back to work. And sir, I'll have to ask you to leave." "No." Michael pulled out his wallet and threw several bills onto the counter. "I'll buy the restaurant if I have to. I'm not leaving without talking to my daughter." "Your money doesn't fix everything," Jessica yelled. "Not this time." She pushed past him and walked out the back door into the alley. Michael followed, finding her sitting on the steps of the fire escape, smoking a cigarette. "Since when do you smoke?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Since I learned to survive on my own," she answered without looking at him. "In Germany, in winter, sometimes it was the only thing that kept me warm." Michael felt a stab in his chest as he imagined his teenage daughter alone in a foreign country, enduring the cold and turning to vices to cope with loneliness. "How did you get to Germany?" "You were only 15. I took the first bus to Miami and hid on a ship. She took a long drag. I almost starved during the trip. When I arrived in Berlin, I slept on the streets for weeks until a family took me in." "My God, Jess." Michael covered his face with his hands. "If I had known, but you didn't want to know." She turned to him, eyes blazing. "You hired detectives, put ads in the papers, but you never asked why I left. You never thought maybe the problem was you." Michael stayed silent, absorbing each word like a deserved lashing. "The Miller family informally adopted me," Jessica continued. "Richard and Margaret treated me like their own. They taught me German, put me in school, supported me when I decided to study law." "Law?" Michael lifted his head, surprised. "I have a degree in international law from the University of Munich," she said with bitter pride. "I speak 5 languages fluently. I have 2 master's degrees. But here in the United States, my diplomas are worthless without expensive validation." Michael understood why she was working as a waitress. She was a highly qualified lawyer, stuck in a job that didn't require her skills. "Why did you come back to the United States, son?" he asked. Jessica put out her cigarette and stared at the ground for a long time before answering. "Richard died last year. Cancer. Margaret couldn't manage the house alone anymore, so she sold everything and moved in with her daughter in Munich. I'm so sorry for your loss. He was more of a father to me in 10 years than you were in 15, she said, each word like a blade. He taught me to fish, to cook, to fix things. He came to every graduation, cheered every little achievement. Michael's eyes burned. Richard Miller had done everything he should have done. Why didn't you stay in Germany? You had a life there. Because I needed closure. Jessica stood up, smoothing her uniform skirt. I needed to look you in the eye and tell you how much you hurt me. I needed you to know I became someone in spite of you. And now have you said what you needed to say? Now? She laughed bitterly. Now I'm leaving again, this time for good. No. Michael stood quickly. Please give me a chance, let me try to make it up. Make up 20 years. Jessica shook her head. You don't understand. I'm not that 15-year-old girl who left home crying because Daddy didn't love her enough. I'm a grown woman who learned to live without you. But I always loved you, Michael shouted. Always. Every day you were gone was hell for me. Then why, when I was home, did you act like I was a burden? Jessica turned to him, tears streaming again. Why did you never say you loved me? Why was there always something more important than me? Michael had no answer. He knew she was right in every accusation. I was lost after your mother left, he finally admitted. I didn't know how to be a father alone. I thought if I worked hard, if I made a lot of money, that would be enough to show I cared. Money was never love, Dad. Did it take you 20 years to learn that? They stood in silence in the alley, each lost in their own pain. The sounds of New York City traffic wrapped around them like a melancholic soundtrack. Do you have family? Michael asked softly. Children? Jessica hesitated before answering. I have a daughter, Emma. She's 8. Michael's heart stopped. He was a grandfather and hadn't known. And her father. Andrew was my fiancé in Germany. He died in a car accident when Emma was 2. Michael felt the urge to hug his daughter, to comfort her for the loss, but he knew he didn't have that right. Is she in Germany? She's with Margaret temporarily. I came to the United States to get my diplomas validated and find a decent job before bringing her back. Let me help, Michael said immediately. I can pay for the validation. I can get you a job at my company. I can... No, Jessica interrupted firmly. I don't want anything from you. Nothing that comes from you or your company. Why not? If it's for Emma's sake. Because she won't grow up thinking money solves everything, Jessica shouted. She won't have a grandpa who only knows how to buy people's love. The word grandpa echoed in the alley. Michael realized he might have a granddaughter he'd never know if he didn't regain Jessica's trust. What's she like? He asked, his voice breaking. Jessica softened slightly when talking about her daughter. She's smart, speaks German and English fluently, loves to draw, and dreams of being an architect. She has your brown eyes but her father's gentle way. Does she know about me? She knows her maternal grandpa lives in the United States, but that we don't talk. I never explained why. And what will you tell her now? Jessica took a deep breath. That some people don't know how to show love, and sometimes it's better to keep your distance so you don't get hurt. Jess, please. Michael knelt on the dirty alley ground. Give me a chance to meet my granddaughter, to try to be the grandpa I couldn't be as a father. Get up, she said, uncomfortable. You're humiliating yourself. I don't care. If I have to, I'll stay on my knees until you forgive me. I don't know if I can forgive, Jessica admitted. The pain was too deep. You have no idea what I went through those first years in Germany. Then tell me. Let me understand. Jessica stared at him for a long moment, as if deciding whether it was worth reopening old wounds. When I arrived in Berlin, I was sick, malnourished, and only spoke English. The police almost deported me several times. I slept in overcrowded shelters, ate scraps of food. Michael closed his eyes, trying to block the images forming in his mind. That first winter, I almost got pneumonia. I was alone in a hospital, delirious with fever, calling for you. But you weren't there. You were never there when I needed you. I didn't know where you were, Michael whispered. But I knew where you were, she shouted. In your office, making more money, closing more deals, being the great businessman Michael Thompson everyone admired. You have every right to hate me. I don't hate you. Jessica surprised herself with her own words. I wanted to. It would have been easier. But you're still my father, no matter how much I try to deny it. Michael looked up, seeing a flicker of hope. Richard used to say holding on to anger is like clutching hot coals, waiting for the other person to burn, she continued. I got tired of burning myself. What do you want from me? Michael asked. Tell me what to do. Jessica hesitated. I want to understand why you changed so much after Mom left. The father I knew when I was little wasn't like this. Michael sat on the steps again, preparing to open wounds he'd kept closed for 2 decades. When your mother left me, it wasn't just her who was gone. She took the part of me that knew how to be affectionate, that knew how to show love. I was angry at the whole world, but I wasn't to blame for that. No, you weren't. But every time I looked at you, I saw her face, I saw everything I'd lost, and instead of holding on, I pulled away because it hurt too much. You punished me for her choice. Yes, Michael admitted, ashamed, and it was the greatest injustice I've ever done in my life. You were just a child who needed her father, and I was too selfish to see that. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, continuing, Jessica wiped her tears with the back of her hand. You know what hurt the most? Seeing other dads pick up their kids from school, going to games, celebrating birthdays. I pretended it didn't matter, but I felt invisible. I remember your birthdays, Michael said softly. I always left gifts on your bed. Gifts your secretary bought, she shot back. You never asked what I liked, what my dreams were, my fears. To you, I was just another item on your to-do list. How can I change that now? How can I prove that you and Emma mean more to me than any business? I don't know if you can, Jessica stood up. Some things can't be fixed, Dad. Some damage is permanent. She started walking back toward the restaurant door, but Michael followed her. What if I let go of the company? He said desperately. What if I sell everything and focus only on winning back my family? Jessica stopped, surprised. You'd do that? If it's the only way to have you and Emma in my life, yes. You've built your whole life around that company. It means more to you than anything. No, Michael shook his head. I built it because I thought that's what you both needed. But if it cost me my family, then it's worth nothing. Jessica studied him for a long moment, searching for signs of lies or manipulation. But all she saw was a broken man desperately trying to reclaim what he'd lost. I need time to think, she finally said. This is all so sudden. How much time do you need? I don't know, maybe days, maybe weeks, maybe never. Michael nodded, knowing he had no right to demand anything. Can I see you tomorrow, just to talk? I work here Monday through Friday, from 7 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. I'll be here at 7. Michael? She used his name instead of Dad. Don't expect me to change my mind overnight. 20 years of hurt don't disappear with one conversation. I understand. I'll wait as long as it takes. Jessica went back inside the restaurant, leaving Michael alone in the alley. He stood there for several minutes, processing everything that had happened. His daughter was alive. She was okay. She had a daughter. But the hatred in her eyes was almost unbearable. That night, Michael cancelled all his meetings and stayed home, looking at old photos of Jessica. He realized he had very few from the years right before she left. He was always traveling, always working. The next day, he arrived at the restaurant promptly at 7 in the morning. Jessica was already there, setting up tables for breakfast. Good morning, he said hesitantly. Good morning, she replied without looking at him. Want some coffee? Yes, thank you. Michael sat at a corner table, watching his daughter work. She was efficient, polite to all the customers, smiling when needed. But he could see the sadness behind her professional smile. Why this restaurant? He asked when she brought the coffee. It's close to the law office where I'm trying to intern. Kevin, the manager, is the owner's cousin and gave me a chance without too many questions. Do you plan to practice law in the United States? If I can validate my degrees, yes. I want to work in labor rights. I saw a lot of injustice in Germany with American immigrants. Michael felt proud of his daughter despite everything. She'd become a strong, determined woman. And Emma, how is she handling the separation? Jessica hesitated but answered. She cries every night during our video calls. Ask when we'll meet again, it's hard. Can I help with anything? Plane tickets, documentation. I need to do this alone, she cut him off. I need to prove to myself that I can. Why is it so important to prove that? Because my whole childhood you made me feel incapable. Every time I tried something and didn't get it right the first time, you rolled your eyes or had someone else do it for me. Michael remembered many times he'd done exactly that. He thought he was helping, but he was really undermining his daughter's confidence. I wanted to protect you. You wanted me to be perfect so I wouldn't disappoint you. Just like the company had to be perfect, the business had to be flawless. There was no room for error in Michael Thompson's life. And now, do you think I've changed? I don't know. Jessica wiped down a nearby table. You're still here trying to fix everything with money and influence. How can I prove I've changed? You can't. Only time will show if you've really changed or if this is just another business strategy. Michael stayed silent, knowing she was right to distrust him. Over the next few days, he returned to the restaurant religiously, not to pressure Jessica, but just to be near her. He watched how she handled difficult customers with patience, how she helped her co-workers when they struggled. On Thursday, he witnessed a situation that changed everything. A drunk customer was harassing Jessica, making inappropriate comments and touching her hand against her will. Michael stood up immediately, ready to step in, but stopped when he saw Jessica handle it herself. "Sir, I need to ask you to stop this behavior," she said firmly but politely. "Oh, come on, sweetheart. I'm just being friendly," the man laughed, trying to touch her again. "Kevin," Jessica called for the manager, who appeared right away. "Is there a problem, Emily? This gentleman is a bit out of line. Maybe he should come back another day." Kevin, a strong and experienced man, positioned himself beside Jessica. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." The drunk customer grew aggressive, shouting and making threats. Michael couldn't stay back any longer and stepped forward. "I think it's best you leave before I call security," Michael said, using the authoritative tone he reserved for important meetings. The man glared at him, but something in Michael's stance made him back down. He left grumbling, leaving the restaurant in silence. "Thank you," Jessica said to Michael, genuinely surprised. "You didn't have to—" "Yes, I did," he interrupted. "You're my daughter. I'll always protect you when you need it." It was the first time in 5 days she looked at him with something other than anger or indifference. "You were willing to fight for me," she said, more to herself than to him. "I was willing to die for you if I had to." Jessica fell silent, processing what had happened. Michael had put himself at risk for her without expecting anything in return. "Can I ask you something?" she said after a few minutes. "Anything. Why didn't you ever fight for our family when I was a child? Why didn't you ever fight to keep me close?" The question hit Michael like a punch. He realized he'd spent more energy protecting his daughter from a drunk stranger than he had trying to save their relationship when she was a teenager. "Because I didn't realize I was losing you," he admitted. "I thought you'd always be there, that there'd always be time to fix things later. And when I left home, why didn't you come after me?" "I did, but from a distance. I hired detectives, put out ads, offered rewards. But I never went looking for you myself because I was afraid you'd send me away to my face. I was afraid to hear you say you hated me. So you chose to reach out from afar to protect your ego." "Yes," he confessed, ashamed. "It was cowardly and selfish." Jessica nodded, as if confirming something she already suspected. "At least now you're being honest." That afternoon, when the restaurant slowed down, Jessica sat at Michael's table. "Can I show you something?" She pulled her phone from her pocket and opened a photo folder. It was Emma, her granddaughter, a little girl with curly hair and a bright smile, playing in the snow, drawing, reading books. "She's beautiful," Michael whispered, feeling his eyes well up. "She looks like you when you were little. She asks about you sometimes, wants to know what her grandpa who lives in the United States is like." "And what do you tell her?" "That you're an important man, very busy, who lives far away. Is that all I am to you? An important, busy man? Jessica put her phone away. It's all you've ever been. The difference is, now you're here, physically present. But I still don't know if you've really changed. What can I do to prove it? Nothing. Just be present. Don't try to buy my forgiveness. Don't try to rush things. Just be here. Michael nodded, understanding this was his only chance. Over the following weeks, he kept to the routine. He arrived at 7, had coffee, stayed until Jessica left work at 4. He didn't talk much, just observed and was present. Gradually, Jessica began to relax a little. She shared small stories about Emma, about life in Germany, about the dreams she had for the future. Emma wants to learn English, she said one day. Says she wants to see Mommy's country. I can teach her German when you move here. Who said we're moving here? You're not going back to Germany. Emma needs to come here if she wants to know you properly. And what if I decide to go back there? Michael's heart clenched, but he answered honestly. Then I'll sell everything here and go too, if you'll have me. Jessica studied him for a long moment. You'd really do that? Leave the United States, your business, your life here? My life means nothing without the two of you. I learned that the hard way. What if Emma doesn't like you? What if she doesn't want a grandpa in her life? Then I'll accept it and keep my distance, but at least I'll try. The sincerity in Michael's voice touched something in Jessica that she'd tried to keep guarded. She's very smart, she said softly. Smarter than I was at her age. She asks tough questions, wants to understand everything. Like you always wanted to know the why behind everything, and you never had the patience to explain. Now I have all the time in the world. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. At the end of the 3rd week, Jessica made a video call to Emma while Michael was at the restaurant. She hesitated for a moment, then turned the phone to him. Emma, there's someone here who'd like to meet you. A little girl appeared on the screen, chattering quickly in German with Margaret. When she saw Michael, she grew shy and hid behind her German grandma. Emma, this is your grandpa Michael. He lives in the United States. The girl peeked out curiously. Michael waved slowly, smiling. Hello, Emma. It's so nice to meet you. You're really my grandpa? She asked in English with a German accent. I really am. And you're the prettiest little girl I've ever seen. Emma grinned, her shyness fading a bit. Mommy said you speak German. I speak a little, Michael replied haltingly in German, but maybe you can teach me to speak better. The girl giggled at his accent. You sound funny, just like Mommy when she first came to Germany. Jessica watched the interaction with mixed emotions. He watched the father genuinely trying to connect with his granddaughter, speaking in her language, showing interest in her stories. Grandpa, can you come visit us? Asked Emma. Michael looked at Jessica, waiting for permission. We'll see, sweetheart, said Jessica. First, Grandpa and I need to sort out a few things. What kind of things? Grown-up stuff. Nothing for you to worry about. After the call ended, Jessica grew thoughtful. She liked you, she finally said. And you? Are you starting to consider forgiving me? I'm considering trying, but that doesn't mean it'll be easy or quick. I understand. There's one thing I need to know. Jessica turned to him. If I decide to give you a chance, do you promise you won't disappear again when things get tough? I promise. And if Emma has a crisis, or gets sick, or needs you in the middle of the night, will you be there? I'll be there. And if she doesn't want to follow your plans for her life, if she wants to be an artist instead of a businesswoman, I'll support whatever dream she has, even if it means you won't have anyone to take over your business. Michael realized this was the most important question, the one that would reveal if he had truly changed. Jessica, I spent 20 years building an empire that means nothing if I don't have a family to share it with. If Emma wants to be an artist, I'll be the proudest grandpa in the world. If you want to advocate for people in need instead of working at my company, I'll support you. And if I never fully forgive you, then I'll accept that and be grateful for whatever part of you I can have in my life. Jessica fell silent for several minutes, wrestling with herself. I want to believe you, she finally said. I really want to believe you've changed, but I'm scared. Scared of what? Scared of being disappointed again, scared of disappointing Emma, scared that once the novelty wears off, you'll go back to being the same man you were before. How can I prove that won't happen? You can't. Only time will tell. Michael nodded, accepting that there were no quick fixes for 20 years of pain. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Are you happy, here in the United States, working as a waitress away from Emma? Jessica laughed bitterly. Happy? No, but I'm trying to build something for the two of us, something that doesn't depend on anyone but me. What if I could speed up the validation of your degrees? I have contacts at the university. No, she cut him off. We've already talked about this. But why make things harder than they need to be? Because if you help me now, I'll never know if I succeeded on my own merit or because I'm Michael Thompson's daughter. Michael understood. She needed to prove to herself that she was capable. What if I just watched from a distance? No interference. No interference at all? Scout's honor. Jessica studied him, searching for signs of deceit. Fine. But at the first sign of interference, it's over. Understood? Understood. Over the next month, Michael kept his word. He sat in the restaurant watching Jessica work, but made no attempt to speed up or ease the validation process for her degrees. Jessica, in turn, began sharing more about Emma in their conversations, how the girl was adjusting to temporary life with Margaret, how she missed her mom, how she drew portraits of the family she'd never known. She drew you yesterday, Jessica said, showing him a photo on her phone. It was a child's drawing, but full of warmth, a man in a suit smiling with the word Grandpa written underneath. Grandpa? That's what she decided to call you. In German, Opa means grandpa. Michael felt his heart warm. He had a nickname from his granddaughter. Can I keep a copy? I'll ask her to make a new one for you. That night, for the first time in weeks, Michael called Jessica. Hi, it's Michael. I hope you don't mind me calling. I don't mind. Did something happen? No, I just wanted to hear your voice, wanted to know how your day was. Jessica was surprised. She couldn't remember the last time her father had called just to talk. It was a normal day, tiring. And yours? I cancelled all my meetings and spent the day thinking about you two. Michael, I know it's still early for this kind of talk, but I wanted you to know that you two are everything to me now. There's nothing more important in my life than winning back my family. Jessica felt her eyes fill with tears. It's strange hearing this from you. Why? Because it's exactly what I wanted to hear when I was a teenager, that I mattered, that you cared about me. And now? Does it mean anything to hear it now? It means hope. Hope that maybe it's not too late. From that call on, they started talking on the phone every night. Conversations about everything and nothing. About Emma, about the past, about dreams for the future. Michael discovered that Jessica loved classical music, that she cooked German dishes when she was homesick, that she was afraid of flying but faced her fear for Emma. Jessica learned that her father had kept all her childhood drawings, that he watched his granddaughter's videos over and over, that he cried alone in his office when he thought about the lost years. Can I tell you something? Jessica said one night. Anything. The day I left home, I waited until 2 a.m. for you to come back. I wanted to say goodbye. I wanted one last chance for you to convince me to stay. Michael's heart stopped. You waited for me? I did, but you never came. I fell asleep on the living room couch waiting, and by morning you still hadn't returned from your trip. My God, Jess, if I had known... I know. But back then, it felt like confirmation that I really didn't matter to you. You always mattered. I just didn't know how to show it. I know that now. That's why I'm trying to forgive you. Trying. I'm succeeding. Little by little, day by day, conversation by conversation. Michael smiled on the other end of the line. Does that mean I can have hope? It means you can have hope. 2 weeks later, Jessica got the call she'd been waiting for. Her degrees had been validated by the university. She could finally practice law in the United States. I did it, she shouted into the phone to Michael. I did it on my own. Congratulations. Michael was genuinely happy. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for not interfering. I know it must have been hard. It was awful. I had to stop myself so many times from calling people I know. But you kept your word. And you did it on your own, just like you wanted. That night, they met for dinner for the first time in 20 years. Not at the restaurant where she worked, but at a small, cozy place she chose. How do you feel? Michael asked. Free, she said, smiling. For the first time since I came back to the United States, I feel free. Now I can go get Emma. When are you leaving? Next week. I already bought the tickets. And after? Will you stay in the United States? For now, yes. I got a job at an NGO that advocates for immigrants' rights. It doesn't pay much, but it's exactly what I want to do. And Emma? How is she taking it? Excited. She wants to see Mommy's country, and she wants to meet Grandpa in person. Michael smiled at the nickname. Can I pick you up at the airport? You can. But Michael, when Emma arrives, things will change. She'll be my top priority. As she should be. She's your daughter. And if you try to win her over with expensive gifts or special treatment, I won't do that, I promise. And if she doesn't like you, I'll accept it and try again the next day. And if she likes you more than me? Michael realized this was a genuine concern for Jessica. That will never happen. You're her mother, the most important person in the world to her. I just want to be an addition, not a replacement. Thank you for understanding that. Thank you for giving me this chance. They sat in silence, eating and processing everything that had changed in the past few weeks. Can I ask you something? Michael said. Of course. Have you forgiven me completely? Jessica thought for a long moment before answering. Not completely yet, but I'm getting there. And for the first time in 20 years, I believe it's possible. That's enough for me for now. And Michael? Yes? Thank you for not giving up, for coming to the restaurant every day, even when I was hostile toward you. Thank you for giving me the chance to try again. A week later, Michael was at JFK International Airport, more nervous than he'd ever been in a business meeting. He held a bouquet of flowers for Jessica and a small teddy bear for Emma. When he saw the two of them coming out of the arrivals area, his heart nearly stopped. Emma was even more beautiful in person, with golden curls and curious eyes. Jessica looked tired from the trip, but happy. "Grandpa!" Emma shouted in German, letting go of her mother's hand and running toward Michael. He knelt to her level, opening his arms. The little girl hugged him without hesitation, as if she'd known him for years. "You're taller than I imagined," she said in English. "And you're even prettier than in the pictures," he replied, his eyes filling with tears. "Why are you crying, Grandpa?" "Because I'm so happy to meet you." Emma accepted the explanation naturally, as only children can. "I brought you a present," Michael said, showing her the teddy bear. "Thank you, I'll name him Teddy, like my bear back in Germany." Jessica watched the interaction with mixed emotions. She saw the father she had always wished for, loving and present, but now directed at her daughter. "Hi, Dad," she said when Michael stood up. "Hi, sweetheart," he hugged her gently. "Welcome home." The word home rang strangely. For Jessica, home had been Germany for so long that the United States felt almost foreign. "Shall we go?" Michael said. "I imagine you're both tired." "Grandpa, where are we going to live?" Emma asked. "For now, in a small apartment downtown," Jessica answered, "close to my new job." "I'd like to help with the arrangements," Michael said carefully. "Nothing extravagant, just something comfortable for the two of you." "Michael, let me do this, not as a way to control or influence, but as a father and grandfather who wants his family to be comfortable. Jessica looked at Emma, who was enchanted by everything around her. All right, but nothing over the top. I promise. In the following days, Michael helped Jessica and Emma settle into a 2-bedroom apartment in a safe but simple neighborhood. It wasn't luxurious, but it was cozy and had a good little school nearby for Emma. "Can I decorate my room?" Emma asked her mother. "Of course, sweetheart. We'll buy some things this weekend." "Can I come with you?" Michael asked hesitantly. "You can, Grandpa," Emma answered before Jessica could. "You can help me pick." Jessica smiled, watching how easily Emma had embraced her grandfather. That weekend, the three of them went shopping. Michael restrained himself from going overboard, buying only the essentials Emma chose: animal-patterned wallpaper, a small desk, and drawing supplies. "Grandpa, do you want to see my drawings from Germany?" Emma asked when they got home. "Of course." Emma opened a folder full of drawings, portraits of her life, Margaret, the house, school friends, animals, landscapes, and several drawings of the family she had imagined in the United States. "This is you." She showed a drawing of a man in a suit. "This is Mommy when she was little, and this is me visiting the United States." Michael observed each drawing with genuine interest, asking about the colors and the stories behind them. "You draw very well," he said. "Better than I did at your age." "You used to draw, Grandpa?" "I did." "Your mommy also drew very well when she was little." Emma looked at Jessica, surprised. "Mommy, you never told me you used to draw." "It's been a long time since I stopped," Jessica said. "I lost the habit." "Why did you stop?" Emma insisted. Jessica glanced at Michael, who understood he'd touched on a delicate subject. "Sometimes when we grow up, we let go of things we used to love," Michael said gently. "But it's never too late to start again." "Mommy, you can draw with me." "Maybe," Jessica replied, clearly uncomfortable. Later, when Emma was asleep, Jessica and Michael talked in the kitchen. "Do you remember my drawings?" she asked. "I remember all of them. I kept many of them." "Really?" "In my office, I have an entire drawer with your drawings, your school essays, your photos. I could never bring myself to throw them away." Jessica was surprised. "I thought you'd gotten rid of everything when you moved." "Never. It was all I had left of you. Why did you never tell me you kept those things? Because back then I didn't know how to show I cared. Keeping them quietly felt safer than expressing feelings. And now? Have you learned to express feelings?" Michael smiled. "I'm learning. The two of you are teaching me." Over the following weeks, the family settled into a routine. Michael picked Emma up from school when Jessica was working. They did homework together, played in the park, and talked about everything. Emma was a curious child, wanting to understand all about the United States, about family, and why she had gone so long without knowing her grandfather. "Grandpa, why did Mommy leave the United States when she was little?" she asked one day. Michael looked at Jessica, who was preparing dinner. It was a question they both knew would come eventually. "Your mommy needed to figure out who she was," Michael said carefully. "Sometimes people need to go far away to understand themselves better." "And why did you two go so long without talking?" "Because sometimes adults make mistakes and take a long time to fix them." "What kind of mistakes?" Jessica turned, curious to see how Michael would handle the question. "I wasn't a good father to your mommy when she was little. I worked too much and didn't pay enough attention to her." "That's really sad," Emma said with childlike honesty. "It is very sad," Michael agreed. "That's why I'm trying to be a better grandpa for you now." "You're a good grandpa, Grandpa. Mommy said you pick me up from school every day, even when you're working." Michael looked at Jessica, grateful she had explained it positively to Emma. "The two of you are more important than any job. Grandpa, can you teach me German? I want to speak as well as you and Mommy." "Of course, we can do that every night after dinner." And so a new tradition began. Every evening, after Emma finished her homework, they sat in the living room for an informal German lesson. Michael taught new words, Jessica helped with pronunciation, and Emma asked a million questions about everything. "Grandpa, in Germany there was snow. Does it snow here in the United States?" Emma asked one night. In most of the US, it doesn't snow, but we can travel to places where it does in winter. Can we go together? You, me, and Mommy?" Michael glanced at Jessica, who gave a slight nod. "If your Mommy agrees, we can plan a trip." "Mommy, do you agree?" "I do. It would be nice for you two to see other parts of the country." Emma jumped for joy, already imagining family adventures. 2 weeks later, they took their first trip together to the Colorado Rockies. It was a simple weekend, but for Michael, it meant more than any business deal. "Are you happy?" Jessica asked as they watched Emma playing in the hotel pool. "Happier than I've ever been in my entire life," Michael replied. "And you?" "I'm at peace. For the first time in a long while, I feel like we're in the right place. Even with all the pain from the past. The pain is still there. But now there's hope too. And love." Michael turned to her, surprised. "Love? I love you, Dad. I always have, even when I was angry. But now I can feel that love without the hurt." Michael felt his eyes well up with tears. "I love you too, sweetheart. More than I've ever been able to show." They embraced for the first time, as father and daughter, as adults who had chosen each other again after years lost. "Mom, Grandpa, come swim with me," Emma called from the pool. "Shall we?" Jessica said. "Let's," Michael agreed. As they played in the water, Michael realized he had finally found what truly mattered. Not money, not career success, not recognition. It was this: simple moments with family, a child's laughter, the chance to start over. Months later, on a December evening, they were in the apartment decorating the Christmas tree. It was the first time Michael had taken part in a family holiday tradition since Jessica was a little girl. "Grandpa, can you help me put the star on top?" Emma asked. Michael lifted her in his arms and she carefully placed the golden star at the very top of the tree. "There, now it's perfect," she said, clapping her hands. "Just like the two of you," Michael said, looking at his family. "Perfect." "Nobody's perfect, Grandpa," Emma said with the innocent wisdom of children. "But we can be happy, even if we're not perfect." Michael and Jessica exchanged glances, both struck by the depth of the little girl's words. "You're right, sweetheart," Jessica said. "Sometimes being happy is more important than being perfect." That night, after Emma fell asleep, Michael and Jessica sat on the couch to talk, as had become their habit. "Can I ask you something?" Jessica said. "Always. Do you regret anything? All this change in your life?" Michael thought for a moment. "I regret losing 20 years. I regret not being the father you deserved. I regret Emma growing up without knowing her grandpa, but I don't regret anything I did to win you both back. Even having to completely change your life." "My life didn't change," Michael smiled. "My life began. Everything I had before was just obligations and appearances. This, with the two of you, is real life. And the company. Don't you miss the power, the control? I miss the feeling of building something important. But now I know the most important thing I can build is this family. What if I told you I want more kids, that I want to give Emma a little brother?" Michael was surprised by the question. "You want more children?" "Maybe. I haven't decided yet. But what if I do? How would you feel about being a grandpa again?" "It would be the greatest joy of my life," he answered without hesitation. "Every grandchild would be a new chance to get it right, to be the grandpa I couldn't be as a father." "What if it's a boy? What if he doesn't like you?" "I'll win him over day by day, just like I did with you two." Jessica smiled, satisfied with his answer. "I haven't decided anything yet," she said, "but it's good to know you'd be there." "I'll always be there. That's my promise to you both, and to anyone who becomes part of this family." The following year, Jessica announced she was dating a co-worker, a lawyer dedicated to the same cause as her. Michael was nervous about the news. "What's he like?" he asked, trying to hide his concern. "He's a good man, kind, hard-working, loves kids." "And does Emma like him?" "She does. He doesn't try to be her father. He understands his place. He's just a special friend to Mom." "And do you love him?" "I think so. I'm still figuring out what love is after everything we've been through." Michael nodded. knowing he had no right to comment on his daughter's love life. Can I meet him? Of course, actually he wants to meet you too. He knows our whole story. And what does he think? He thinks you were brave to change. He lost his father as a child and admires how we rebuilt our relationship. The meeting happened 2 weeks later. Robert was a calm, respectful man in his 40s. He treated Emma with genuine affection and showed real admiration for Jessica. "Mr. Thompson," Robert said, extending his hand, "it's a pleasure to meet you. Likewise, and please call me Michael." During dinner, Michael watched how Robert interacted with his family. He wasn't trying to impress anyone or talking too much. He was just naturally present. "Robert works with political refugees," Jessica explained. "Very complex cases." "That must be tough work," Michael said. "It is, but rewarding, just like Jessica's work with immigrants. She inspires me every day." Michael saw how Robert's eyes lit up when he spoke about Jessica. It was genuine, respectful love. After dinner, as Robert said goodbye, Michael pulled Jessica aside. "He's a good man," he said. "You think so?" "I do. And most importantly, he truly sees you, the way I should have from the start. Thanks for approving. You don't need my approval, sweetheart. You're a grown woman capable of making your own choices. But I'm happy you found someone who values you." 6 months later, Jessica announced she was pregnant. Michael was moved by the news of becoming a grandfather again. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Scared, happy, anxious, all at once?" And Robert? Over the moon. He always wanted kids but never found the right person. And Emma? How did she take it? She's excited, wants to help take care of the baby. She's already picked names. If it's a boy, Teddy, like the bear. If it's a girl, Olivia. Michael laughed, imagining Emma bossing everyone around about baby care. "Can I help with anything? Setting up the nursery, buying baby stuff?" "You can, but no going overboard, remember?" "I remember." Throughout Jessica's pregnancy, Michael was there. He went to doctor's appointments, helped set up the nursery, and looked after Emma when Jessica felt sick. "Grandpa, will the baby love me like I love you?" Emma asked one day. "Even more. You'll be the big sister, their protector. Like Mom should have had an older brother to protect her." The question hit Michael in the chest. With her innocence, Emma had touched on something he'd never considered. "Yeah, like your mom should have had. But she had you. You were her dad and protector all at once. I wasn't a good protector for your mom when she was little, but you are now, and you will be for the baby too." Emma's absolute faith in him moved Michael deeply. When the baby arrived, a healthy boy named Ethan, not Teddy as Emma had suggested, Michael was in the waiting room with Emma, as anxious as if it were his first child. "Grandpa, are you nervous?" Emma asked, noticing his restlessness. "I am. And you?" "Me too, but it's the good kind, right? The very best kind." When they finally met Ethan, Michael felt his heart swell in a way he hadn't since Jessica's birth. The baby was tiny, pink, perfect. "Grandpa, you're crying again," Emma observed. "It's because I'm so happy." "I'm happy too. Now our family is complete." Michael looked around the room, Jessica, tired but radiant, holding Ethan. Robert, proud, standing beside the bed. Emma, fascinated by her baby brother. And himself, present for such an important moment. "Yes," he said, "now our family is complete." End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave a sincere comment below. Do you think Michael deserved a second chance? We'd love to read your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like the video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories.